Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast alongside Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. Thanks to our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction for sponsoring this podcast.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Level, how are we doing today?
Yeah, happy 2024 to everybody. I know it's we already did one of these in 2024, but then thank you to the folks at Cantex for being a part of this show with Woodman and I. Yeah, doing good, man. Hard to beat that feeling when you go win a big game on the road against a rival. That's a good way to start out your conference season for sure. And I think it definitely changes the conversations around your program, at least for the short term.
Sure.
You've got to go validate it now and all those things. But yeah, that was a heck of a way to start out the conference season, and in what is likely your last trip to Austin from a basketball standpoint for a good long while, at least
Sure.
against Texas. Yeah, I mean, all good there.
All right, you got to help me keep it in perspective because I want to, just run around going crazy over the win and be excited.
Understand.
But it is one of 18. But that one of 18 is a road win over a ranked team in the Big 12. That doesn't happen too much. So how can I not celebrate too much and keep this one down?
It's the best win you've had this season.
Yeah.
I think it made some news around the country. However, I think a lot of people are pointing to it going, see, we said Texas isn't very good. And I think all of those things can be true here.
True.
I don't, Texas doesn't have a great resume right now. I think a lot of people were like baffled and did not understand why they were ranked where they were.
Yeah.
Their resume didn't support it. The two teams that they had played that are any good, UConn and Marquette, hammered them. And those two teams are really good now. So, and so Texas is still talented. They're just not, we talked about this maybe on the last time we did one of these on the show earlier this past week, I guess. Texas they're not like, they don't have a bunch of NBA dudes on their team right now.
Right.
There's not a bunch of one and done types or a bunch of NBA talent or whatever. They've got pros, they've got talent, probably on paper more talented than you, but it's not your typical Texas team that we have seen. So they're just kind of figuring it out. They're kind of meh a little bit, but again, they were 7-point, I think, favorites over you. I think that's about right. 6.5, 7 points. And I thought you largely controlled this game. The two guards for each team kind of cancel each other out in this one. And here's where you won this game that shocked me in some ways, is that minus Kerwin Walton scoring one single point, your role players and your depth, which I think is a concern for you, they were better than Texas's. And that's what really surprised me, because you're missing some depth minus Devin Cambridge, and so everybody's had to move up. Kerwin Walton has been playing unbelievably well lately. He doesn't score a point in this game in I think 28 minutes. But it was guys like Lamar Washington and Robert Jennings that combined for 9 points. It's Chance McMillan with his usually pretty steady game off the bench, and so your bench scoring, it was a lot. But typically that's the thing, is that the role player plays better at home, and a role player typically doesn't play as well on the road.
Yeah, and
that's what slants teams' home records. And really, this is across the board in all sports. It's like your dudes typically play at the same level all the time, which makes them like a dude. I mean, like
right.
Like your best guys. But it's the other folks that kind of elevate. Typically, they do this at home more so than the road. But this was the opposite in Austin, and Now you've won 5 of 6 there. You've won 11 of the last 14 against these guys. You now have a quad 1 win on your resume, your first one. Your net has gone from 53 to I think like 36. You're in the top 30 of the Ken Palm rankings. And so, but it's all short-lived if you don't win a very winnable game versus Oklahoma State on Tuesday night. Welcome to the Big 12 Conference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know
really
the two
listening to
games,
us, they've all been in the Big 12 Conference. You have too. I mean, you get what I'm saying, but
yeah. I mean, the two games you got coming up though, you got to really win both of them. I'm not saying that if you lose one, then your season's over, you're not going to the tournament, but these are both very winnable games. Oklahoma State especially, but Kansas State hasn't been just the Kansas State that they were last year either up to this point. This is if you want to be a tournament team, you've got to protect home court. And I think that's where you've got you look at these next two, you stole one if you want to look at it that way on the road in Austin, and you're giving yourself a pretty good chance to be 3-0 in Big 12 play.
Most coaches, they typically break the schedule down into mini seasons, if you will. And you can kind of pick an arbitrary number, and sometimes it just lays out basically home and road, or kind of however you want to divvy it up. A lot of times coaches are like, hey man, let's take these in 2-week increments, Yeah. And I don't necessarily know how Grant feels about but most coaches, they all look at, yes, they look at game to game. Don't misunderstand. Nobody's looking ahead, but you also kind of, break the season down in a shorter time frames, and then you just kind of attack those. It's kind of like a game. Hey, let's win the first 4 minutes. Okay, then let's go win the next 4 minutes. Okay, well, your first 4 conference games, the way it laid out, 2 what you thought pretty difficult road trips, Austin and Houston, and then 2 very winnable home games. So at the very minimum, we kind of had said, I think on last week's podcast, you needed to be 2-2 through those first 4 to really maintain kind of your relevancy, or to maintain a shot at a bid, or to whatever. And if you were to get to 3-1, then you look at it and go, okay, now you've probably been a bit better than what you would have thought. Okay, then once you get through that first 4, okay, look at the next 4. But if you're, I think I'm with you in that. Now that you look at it, you won the first one. If you're 2-2 after these first 4, which you could easily be this.
Sure.
Don't get it twisted. It's not like you're not a lot better than Oklahoma State or Kansas State. You're just not.
Right.
There's not as much margin for error. Now, if you play lights out and you play your best game and it's at home, you're probably going to hammer one of those 2 teams, if not both. But there's going to be a night where the shots don't go in, or how else are we getting to this win, fellas? What else? We're turning it over more than we're used to. So I say all that to say, these are validation type wins, but you only get so many opportunities at home against beatable teams, and you better take advantage, because you're only going to get so many of them. You have increased your margin for error because you went and got one on the road, but you could give it right back if you go lose one of these 2 home games. But again, and the Kansas State game is fascinating because Grant's going to see his former player over there, and then there's going to be a lot of dynamics and emotions in that one.
Yeah.
Just because of that with Tyler Perry, just that side story alone. And then there's not any animosity there.
Sure.
Or anything, but you've got 2 guards that I think you really believe in. And so, but that's this weekend. You're worried about Tuesday night first and foremost. And I just watched an Oklahoma State team play over the weekend that gave Baylor all they wanted. A Baylor team that a lot of people feel like is a 2 seed or a 3 seed if the brackets were to come out right now. And Oklahoma State guarded the perimeter like crazy. They took them to overtime, and if not for a couple of careless turnovers by Oklahoma State in overtime, Oklahoma State might have been making some major news over the weekend by their results. So, yeah, buckle up, folks. Here we are. The home crowd is needed, and you've got to hold serve at home, but won't be easy.
Have to, but dadgummit, Level. I just love I love beating the Longhorns. There's just something special about it.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it
And
was
you're not
so
going to
much
get too
fun.
many more times to do that. Yeah.
No, no, doesn't matter what it is. If it's basketball or football or tiddlywinks, I'm wanting to beat the Longhorns pretty bad.
I knew you were about to say
How
Tiddlywinks.
did
And
you know that?
when is the last time you've played that? Isn't that where you have the little cup and the little plastic chips and you kind of pop it on the felt deal and
Yeah,
try to flip
I
it
got
up?
I got to be
Is that
honest.
right?
I'm not sure what exactly tiddlywinks are.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I
I
don't
know.
care. I want to beat the
Yeah.
Longhorns if we're playing anything. Thumb wrestling.
Tiddlywinks. Tiddlywinks, I think, is like you take this little tiny plastic cup and it's like you have to play it like on a felt table, like some sort of table with some give to it.
Okay, I
And
think
you like take these little plastic, it's like a coin looking thing on another coin, and like you click it or on the edge of it, and you like it makes it come up off of the table, and you try to pop it up
I
into
think I
the
know what you're talking about now.
cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Okay.
jacks with
Yeah.
the
The
rubber
coins.
ball and like the jacks, and you try to bounce it and pick up as many jacks before it bounces again, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, tiddlywinks, man. Yeah,
But you
come
knew I was
on,
going to
man.
say that. You knew I was going to say that.
Yes, I was. If you'll watch this back, whenever you'll watch my mouth almost kind of doing. I was about
Okay.
to bring up tiddlywinks, because
Well,
I wasn't sure if you were going to say it or not,
well,
truthfully, but I was going to say it if you didn't.
I should have gone with leg wrestling because I have done that more recently at the Woodman family gatherings over Christmas recently.
Of course,
No,
you
no
have.
surprise, I'm sure, but definitely beat the brothers out in some leg wrestling.
Sell tickets to that next time, and I will purchase said admission for sure.
Well, okay, I'm sure that's what
Yeah.
everybody's dying to see. So, great fun stuff on Saturday night. But there was some negative news in the light for Texas Tech basketball throughout or during the week. It was rumors a lot, and then Myron Metcalf of ESPN reports or puts out a report of a lawsuit that's a civil lawsuit that's gone against Pop Isaacs. For a incident that happened in the Bahamas, and Texas Tech responded with a statement that says that they reported this as soon as they became aware of it after the Bahamas trip. They gave it to Title IX, which you may help me out if I say anything wrong here, but Title IX is a completely separate entity from the athletics department. Texas Tech's Title IX is just completely separate. So they turned that over to Title IX, and Title IX has told Texas Tech athletics that Pop Isaacs is still in good standing and is still should be playing. Have I missed anything there?
Yeah, anytime there's some of these instances that pop up or whatever, Title IX gets involved, whether it's you know like a sexual assault case. Jet Duffy's
Yeah.
situation, was, and the Title IX offices is independent from, yeah, the athletic department and actually the university,
Okay.
because I think like if there were to be like a
Right.
student altercation or in question, I think
Right.
Title
That makes
IX would,
sense.
would be involved there too. Anything involving one of a Texas Tech student, I think every campus in the country has a Title IX office. And yeah, athletics doesn't have anything to do with it, nor does the university administration technically have anything to do with it, just because you don't want to. There needs to be no swaying of an investigation,
Sure.
and that's the reason that it's like, hey, we'll let you know what we found. Here's what we're going to need to talk to these people, and then they just investigate it, and then they determine what they find and make a judgment. And I think that this is what's gone on at Texas Tech, and Pop is still in good standing, and he's starting, and he's going to continue to play. People have had questions like, well, how is he going to be able to still play? As far as I know, I don't know what the next step here is there that would, unless something else were to come out. I don't know what would, and obviously Texas gave him Every time he touched it, they gave him the boo, boo treatment and all that every time he touched the ball and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, probably a lot of emotions going on with that team, and it's a credit to Grant, like that they've kind of stayed together, and you're not listening to a lot of this outside noise, probably very difficult on Pop and who, the folks in the midst of the investigation on their side of it too. But that's, I guess, the courts play that one out. I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm not gonna break it down legally because I don't know. I don't know the civil system, the criminal system, and all the things. But this is a civil suit. I don't know. There's no charges filed or anything like that. But anyway, it's yeah, that's all I know to say about it. Really, I just go off of the fact that it was brought up, it was reported, it was investigated, and then here we are. And yeah, I guess that's the extent of my knowledge on it. I don't know. You can add anything else that you want, but that's all I would know to say on it.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. It's just you're sitting there. It's not a good look for the university. It's not a good look for Pop Isaacs. It's not a good look for anybody involved. Um, but at the same time, if they're telling you he's supposed to play, I don't know what else to comment on it. And I guess you just let things play out. I think it
Yeah,
does
because
make a
you can,
difference.
well, because I could file a civil suit on you,
Exactly. Yeah.
and for just being a knucklehead in general, and like that's not you haven't committed a crime or for being a knucklehead, and but so that's what I think people have to remember is that this is a civil suit. Anybody can file a civil suit against anybody, but it's obviously was reported by on a national platform and with some details in there, and that's up to other people to decide where what's legal, not legal, right, wrong, whatever. All we can get into here is that, hey man, if he's playing basketball, we will analyze his game, his team's game, and all those things, and we'll just leave it at that. But
Yep.
yeah, it's just bad. It's bad PR. I mean,
Yep.
you don't want things like that said about you. I mean, you wouldn't want to be a civil suit filed for being a knucklehead, would you? Or would you
No.
care?
Well, no, I'm not.
I
It's
mean,
not my preference.
because you just said I was leg wrestling at the family gathering. I mean, see, this is grounds for
Is that grounds?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I did
No, I don't
whip
want
the
to make
family
light
members.
okay,
So
I don't want to make light of the whole thing, but anyway,
no, but
I
yeah, I think you're right though. The civil versus criminal is a massive difference. If it was a criminal investigation, I think I'm guessing here, but I think you probably would see a suspension pretty immediately with a criminal investigation versus civil. It does make quite a difference in this situation. Okay, back to the basketball, and then there's a couple of portal questions and football type of stuff as Tech landed another portal player. But last basketball question. This one's from Kelly on Twitter. He says, if Kerwin Walton doesn't get going offensively in Big 12 play, Level, who is your next option?
well, it's just one game. I mean, and Kerwin had been really, really good leading into this game, but he doesn't. It's not. It can't go unnoticed that he plays 28 minutes. I think in this game and doesn't score.
Mm-hmm.
And did he turn back into a pumpkin? Was this an anomaly? I don't know, but there's really isn't another option. He's going to have to be at some level part of it. And again, we broke down like your role players and like Jennings and Lamar combining for 9 points. Had Kerwin scored 9 and those guys scored 0, you probably wouldn't have thought anything of it and
Sure.
and looked at Jennings and Lamar going, okay, don't they have to score some or we're going to be in trouble? And so as long as somebody's giving it to you, because your two guards are going to score. I think Chance McMillan has got a chance to score, and then obviously with Darion and Warren and guys like that. But yeah, I'm not ready to panic on Kerwin just yet, especially with 2 home games because where he's been really good at home. Now you look up and he doesn't score against Oklahoma State or Kansas State, yeah, then you may have a bit of a problem. But again, I don't know what you're supposed to do about it. There's nobody over there really that's ready to take on that starting role or that you want to give a bunch of shots to, or anything like that. I mean, they're gonna use Kerwin's experience, and he's got enough under his belt this year to where they've seen what he can do, and they're going to continue to give him lots of opportunities to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think I'm panicking yet. His last 5 games, we'll go 6 games before this. You go 22, 17, 12. He had 0 against UTA, but Coach McCaslin said he was sick that
He was
game.
sick. Mm-hmm.
18 and 9. So 22, 17, 12, subtract the sick game, 18 and 9. I think I'd give it a couple more games in Big 12 play before I start to be overly concerned.
Well, and again, we can be overly concerned as much as we want. It's not going to change anything. You know,
Sure.
you can't really go make a trade at the deadline in college basketball. There's
Fair
no.
enough.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you don't want Lamar necessarily taking a bunch of perimeter shots all of a sudden. Demarion Williams is kind of a great kid, but he's not in the mix to play a bunch. Kyron Lindsey, same. EY, same. Jack Francis, same. So, like, what else?
Well,
Be frustrated, be not frustrated. Yeah, we could all sit here and say he's got to play better. He's got to give you something to reach your peak, but there's no need to like panic or anything or get just too frustrated, because he is what he is. He's a guy that he can change your margin for error can go. If he gives you nothing, I would have thought it really makes your margin for error pretty small. But if he gives you something, all of a sudden now it's like, whoo, now look how good we can be, kind of thing. So
yeah, and I think stylistically with the Texas game too, that he shot two shots the whole game. I where Kerwin Walton's really good is where you get guys collapsing in the paint and get kick out threes for Kerwin Walton. There wasn't that opportunity a lot because you saw a lot of finishes around the rim for both Pop Isaacs and Joe Toussaint and Warren Washington. So you had a lot of paint touches, and if Texas isn't going to crash and help and open up that outside three, then Kerwin's not going to get his opportunities. I do think if you ask Grant McCaslin, he'd probably tell you he played really good defense last night too. So, yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. Obviously, you're going to want more than 0 points out of him in a lot of games in Big 12 play, but you more than survived it against Texas. You thrived without his offensive output. So, big games coming up this week. Obviously, shifting over to football, Texas Tech lands a new commit, interior defensive lineman from Nevada. This guy has 1 year to play. Is that correct?
Yep. And it's Nevada, not Nevada.
I go
I don't know.
Nevada because I got corrected one time, and I just stick with it. But
I never know which way I'm supposed to say it, but I think one of them like offends.
Are you a Gonzaga or Gonzaga guy?
I just say it. I think I probably say Gonzaga, but I don't know if that's right or not. It's the same problem. It's really the same.
It is the same, yeah.
It's the same thing, but it however you say it, it's like, oh, you're not from around here, are you? Boy, it just really sets people off. Anyway, whatever. He played for the Wolfpack.
That's fair.
And he's a one-man Wolfpack that decided to show up to Lubbock, Texas.
Nice.
That was a line from The Hangover. Yeah.
I got it.
Okay, sorry. Just connecting some dots there, just in case. Yeah, that's right. No, James Hansen is he's a 1-year guy. This is a piece that you wanted to add to your roster. If not him, you were going to find somebody that was a big interior D tackle that preferably had just the 1 year to play. I think they're kind of big on some of these 1-year guys just because you get the best of them, or like their last hurrah, but also they're out of here in a year.
Yeah.
And then you don't look at your younger rostered players don't look at it and go, man, I still don't have a path to playing time.
Sure.
Because the guy they brought in's got 2 or 3 years to play, those things. So it allows the Cofields and the McAlpines and the all Blake Burris's and all those guys, those younger pieces that you've got on your team that really haven't pushed their way through yet, 1 more year in the oven, and you can put them with Quincy Ledet and due to Banks and Trayvon McAlpine and guys like that, that it gives you another experience piece. He's 6'2", about 305. Not a all conference guy or anything close to it. He'd been in the portal since early December. Didn't have a ton of activity, which is fairly telling. But I think they feel like surrounded by better players, and there's some things that they liked about him. Good chemistry, culture guy, and all those things. I think they feel like that it's a quality piece, and it's an insurance policy. But ultimately, it bridges the gap between the current and allowing your pieces that are younger on campus to continue to grow up, which is why you went after a lot of one-year guys on the offensive line as well. Same premise. But you've got some dudes that you brought in on that O-line now. I wouldn't say Hansen is necessarily that. However, I'd like for him to be, and if he elevates a bit, and then look out, and we'll see what Zarnell Fitch and Tim DeRuyter can do with him.
Here's another question along those lines. This one is from Michael. It says, is Texas Tech done in the portal after the most recent ad?
I think so, yes. I think, though, that roster building is far from done. I think that you will see, and you may even see it by the time you publish this, choice in that. I think that I'm trying to be cryptic with what I say here. There's some potential, like I think your AJ McCarty's last year, your Dalton Merriman's last year, your Miles Thompson's, your Cameron Brown this year, the quarterback. These are all walk-ons. These are all guys that I think they're going to factor into your team quite a bit, and these are all like not counted toward your scholarship. These are walk-ons with the hope that we'll get placed on scholarship at some point and all that. I think you're still in that avenue, and I think there's a former. I'll just say this. There's former pretty high-profile recruits, one from Oklahoma and one from TCU, that could be joining your team as a walk-on initially. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the roster building continues. So portal, I think you're probably, and again, it's picked over and all that. Now, here's the thing. You're done in the portal for now. After the spring, if certain guys go through the spring and they leave and then other guys get in and all that stuff, I think I reserve the right to go, okay, well, now this next portal cycle, here's what you like to get out of it if a need arises or some departures take place or whatever. So
I got another question football wise. This one is from Jay. It says, Level, are you surprised that there has been no coaching staff turnover for Texas Tech, and will it remain that way?
Well, it may not remain that way. The coaching convention is this week in Nashville. There's a lot of movement and all that. I mean, I don't know if everything is necessarily all settled yet around the country with assistants and coordinators and all that stuff. But yeah, largely your staff has remained untouched, and it doesn't surprise me. I think these guys like working for Joey. I think he makes it very family friendly, and he's not like a crazed maniac, and that you're not going to be up there till 2 a.m. every night, 7 days a week. I think they work smarter, not harder. I think he's a very easy guy to work for, and I think a lot of people like Lubbock and what's going on here. So I don't know if I expect any movement, but however, I would always add the caveat that this would be very rare if it would all just come back intact.
Sure.
And what you do lose sometimes are like those, the GAs or there's the ancillary parts to a staff. Those pieces may change, but as far as just straight up assistants, could you add an analyst? Could you add, I mean, I don't know. There'll be some sort of movement. People will try to move up in the profession. I mean, that's just kind of, that's the name of the game. And there's a lot of money being thrown around, specifically in the SEC and the Big Ten. And so, we'll see, but I don't expect major changes, and you may not get many at all.
Yeah, you do say that every year, that it's very rare for a coaching staff to stay intact.
Well,
I mean, that
to sum it up, remember this from last year, you were one of 28 programs in the country that brought back your head coach, both coordinators, and your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So 28 out of 130 plus or whatever.
Yep.
And so that is just shows you, and again, the quarterback is added into that mix. But this is, and so I would say that, whatever that stat is now this year, because it was Tyler Shuck that factored in, but you're going to now bring back, I guess you could still be part of that equation this year at Baron Morton. He started over half your games and finished up the season and the bowl game and all that, and both coordinators and the head coach.
Yeah.
So you'll be kind of in rare air again. Stability, when it's the right stability, typically wins in college football.
Yeah.
You get the right mix and let people cook, if you will, and build it and give them time. Usually the results are pretty good. And so kind of we'll see what we get here.
One more question from the audience. This one from Matt says, Level, who will be the next Big 12 champion for Texas Tech athletics?
Huh.
Always a tricky one.
Oh man, yeah.
Because I mean, I'm trying to think of the
we
seasons.
talk, yeah, it's like geez, as far as like, you know what? I mean, Wes Kitley's track
I was about to
team.
say indoor track they won it last year, so they're
Yeah,
probably the best.
indoor, outdoor. I think he's loaded again. I think they're
Yeah.
supposed to be, so that would be my.
It's probably a good pick.
That's probably not the answer you were looking for, because that's kind of that's the easy one. I mean,
Okay, what about
Tom
the Big
Stone,
Four then?
yeah,
I mean, baseball's around the corner too, and they're going to have a good
it
team this year.
is.
So I don't know, but indoor track I think is probably your safest.
Yeah, you know
answer.
what? That's the answer I'm going with.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Good
answer.
Yeah, I mean because that'll probably be right.
Yeah. So last thing, real quick, before we get out of here, college football playoff. If you may be watching this after it's already complete on Monday night, but it's the final one we get without 12 teams. Man, I just keep watching and I can't wait till this 12-team playoff rolls around. I don't know. How do you feel about it? I mean, obviously you are a fan of the Big 12, so that probably helps the league out.
Yeah, Choice, here's the thing. I think we've had so much bad that has come from the 12-team playoff, i.e. a lot of the realignment has been really funneled because of this. There's been a lot of things that have just collateral damage because of the expanded playoff. So with that being said, now that we're here, I'm going to enjoy the heck out of the 12-team playoff, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to embrace the heck out of it. I've already got it on my calendar, those 4 quarterfinal games on like this. It's either the 19th or the 20th or the 20th or 21st. I think that'll be kind of really just great TV. Here we are still a week into January, and like, a year from now, we'd still be almost 2 weeks away from when the national championship game will ultimately be played, because I think it's not till the 20th. The 2024 season champion won't be crowned until I think January the 20th of 2025.
Crazy.
Because of the expanded weeks and just getting, whittling it down, with quarterfinals and semifinals and buys and all this business. So yeah, that's I will embrace the heck out of it. And you're right, the Big 12 champ, and maybe more than one, depending on what kind of season you put together, could participate, and you could participate at home.
That's crazy.
That's the other fascinating thing about this.
Absolutely.
Is that I mean, you could get some great cold weather games on campus at some of these places in late December.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I just, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And as far as this last one, depending on when you're listening, the most intriguing thing about this national championship game this year is that it's really all about Jim Harbaugh to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you got the Jalen Polk Texas Tech connection. I think Michael Penix is like, if people had a redo on the Heisman vote, he'd get it.
Yep, he should have got it.
But this one is about Harbaugh. Is this the last game that he coaches in college? I think it might be. In fact,
Yes.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that I think it is his last game in college. And then he's suspended. He bookends the season with suspensions. It's
Yeah.
wild to me.
It is wild.
And here they are playing for the whole dadgum thing. And so it's a credit to him and the team and the staff that he's put around him and all that. But that's kind of what I'm most intrigued by this one. So, anyways, I probably rambled enough, Woodman. Sorry.
Okay. Who you got though? Michigan, Washington.
I think Michigan's probably a little bit more well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to take Washington. I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better offense. But it all comes down to Washington's O-line. Can they give him enough time to make some of these plays down the field?
Yeah.
That's where the game will be won or lost for Michigan and Washington to me. Michigan's D-line is really, really good. And heck, man, they beat up Alabama. I mean, we saw that. I wasn't prepared to say that, but that's the game within the game right there. If Washington can win enough of those matchups up front, I just wonder if Michigan will be able to keep up offensively.
Yep. So, should be a good one. Level was fun again this week, and hopefully we get to celebrate a lot like we did this past week. 2 wins.
Yep.
Would be lovely.
Home games on Tuesday and Saturday. They are monstrous. They're winnable. You got to take advantage. As we talked about, you only get so many chances, and the Pokes and the Emaw rolling into town, and so got to take advantage. Get your tickets. Hope to see people at the arena. Hope to see you there, Woodman, and we'll see what we get.
Yep, you'll hear Level and Jeff Haxton on the call right here on Double T 97.3. Level, have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
Hope it is alive. Oh yeah, here, this too.
Oh, that's fun.
Down.
Always horns down.
Right.
That's Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. It's been the Ask Level podcast, brought to you by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.